So basically speaking, for many years, for most of the existence of Amazon and price optimization, you could update a listing once every 2 minutes. It was as simple as that. And then about a year ago or 2 years ago, Amazon made a change to their API, the way that we interface and connect with their tool with like Seller Central programmatically, like how our technology connects to Seller Central, and made a big change that let us update, in real time, almost instantly. And so there was a big change in how we had to make decisions so that we were choosing the right listings at the right time. So now repricing isn't just what is the right price, it's which listing should I update and when, right? If you have two products that need an update, which one of them should be updated first? Which one has higher velocity? Which one has more potential to make more profit?
E-commerce is the greatest business opportunity of our generation. What is up, people? Welcome back to another episode of the Ecom Unlimited podcast. It's your boy Kaj here with my co-host Josh.
What's going on, everybody?
We missed him last week as he was on his vacation globe-trotting in Hawaii. But he's back, ready to be on the pod with you guys once again. Missed him, but good to have you back, bro.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And today we have a very special guest, Adrian from SellerSnap. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks, Kaj. Nice to see you, Josh. Good to be here.
Yep. And as you guys know, we love to give SellerSnap a shout out in the podcast. They have been our repricer of choice for many years. They help you stay in the buy box longer, help you avoid price wars and increase your profits. But we wanted to bring someone from SellerSnap onto the pod to talk a little bit more in depth about some of the new features that the tool has released, as well as discuss some strategies heading into peak season. Obviously, it's already Q4. Today, as we're recording this, it is October 9th, but we've got Black Friday coming up, Cyber Monday, the weeks leading up to Christmas. So we really wanted to dive into that to give you guys some value today. So today should be a super valuable episode for everyone. And with that, let me just ask Adrian if you could just give a quick introduction, your background, your role at SellerSnap, and then we'll get into the nitty gritty.
Yeah, sure thing, Kaj. So I've been with SellerSnap for maybe six or so years now. And during that time, I've held or worn a lot of different hats. But most of my time has been spent in a product role. So my job is essentially to spend my day listening to Amazon sellers and listening to people like yourselves in the community, understand problems that are affecting them on their day-to-day, and then turn those problems into solutions. And the main thing that we do at SellerSnap is pricing and price optimization. So, I'm hearing how people are talking about coupons and subscriptions and business discounts, and then taking that information and building really robust solutions that can help people build profitable businesses and make sure that they're earning enough on their bottom line.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Great. Yeah. And then let's just go right into it. What are some of the new features that SellerSnap has released over the last few months? Maybe just talk about those, and then we can go into how that can help sellers.
Totally. So, I think if I'm to look at what SellerSnap's been doing or what our vision is around product, we sort of look at it in terms of both like horizontal and vertical diversification. So, we want to make sure wherever Amazon sellers are, that we are as well. And so probably the most profound thing that we've released in the last year is our new Walmart repricer. So we're sort of seeing it as the first algorithmic Walmart repricer on the market. There's, been a handful of players in the space that have done similar types of things or worked to build solutions like this, but they've always come with limitations. And there's the thing we always said about SellerSnap is, we are the repricing tool that doesn't need really heavy manual configuration by focusing on that game theory or algorithmic inspired approach. And when we went to the drawing board, probably the reason it took us so long to get this tool out to the market was, some of the data on the Walmart side is not so robust. And so it took a bit of time to overcome some of those challenges. And what we've ended up with is a really strong algorithmic repricing tool that doesn't need much of a setup at all, just a minimum and a maximum price. And off you go, you press the start button and start to increase those margins. So that's probably the major release. And then on the other side, we also have a brand new analytics platform, lets you understand your business and make really smart decisions. understand your competition, understand who you're performing, understand the brands that are performing the best, and drill down into that data so you know where you're going to spend your money to reinvest, to buy more products, to make more money.
Yeah, and I know with the Walmart repricer, at least in the past, I've not just SellerSnap, but I think most of the repricers, it was like there's a feature where you could just kind of match your Amazon price to Walmart, which, to be honest, is kind of useless because it's a different marketplace. You're going to have different pricing for the buy box. So that's not really what sellers are looking for. But as you said, like Walmart's API, which we've discussed before on this podcast with other people who have Walmart tools, it's like the API is just not nearly as good as Amazon. So you can't do as much, but it seems like it's starting to get better. So now you've actually been able to have a repricer that does repricing inside of Walmart using that same powerful game theory strategy.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So it's, it's definitely not as well developed or as mature as the Amazon side, but it's definitely better than it was. And you're correct, price propagation, as we called it. So just that idea of pushing the same price from Amazon to Walmart. We initially did that years ago, thinking that maybe sellers would want this, and clearly it didn't get the uptake. There was just an appetite for a smart tool that made smart decisions to help you, maximize profits. That wasn't it. And so we went back to the drawing board based on that customer feedback and said, what do they really want? And through that iteration and that empathization with customers, we realized, we need to find a way to overcome some of those data challenges that you're talking about and release something that can help you win buy boxes and make sure you're doing it at a profit margin that doesn't hurt your bottom line. So it took a bit of time, and we got there, and we're getting some really fantastic feedback from sellers that are using it, people that are trying to find differentiation on their Amazon marketplaces, trying to find new channels to grow their business, and having some really good success for the first time, because I think that they now have the tools needed to enter a new marketplace.
Now, let's just talk about maybe for someone who hasn't looked into SellerSnap that deeply. They've heard about it if they've been listening to our podcast, obviously, because we shout you guys out. But what is the core theory of that game theory, and why does it actually work so well compared to other repricers?
Totally. So a lot of complexity, and I think you hear a lot of people in the space say, sometimes these tools are a bit of a black box. And I like when people ask the question, because it is good to just break down what's going on in an algorithm and sort of explain what the system is trying to do. And we refer to it as game theory, or a game theory inspired approach, because it's the best way to have people understand what's going on in the decision-making process. Essentially, our model, our algorithm is designed to perform in what we call a collaborative approach to repricing. So, you, Caj, Josh, you guys can win the buy box 100% of the time, as much as you want. How do you do it? You just need to be priced below your competitor more often than everyone else. So what do? You lower price, you lower price, you lower price. And the impact of that is that your competition lowers price. And this is when price wars start to occur, that penny dropping, you go below your competition. So you can win the buy box 100% of the time. You just will do it at a price that will tank the buy box. And maybe eventually you still win the buy box at the same percentage you were before, but you just lost a lot of margin. So our game theory approach recognizes that in order to win a decent share of buy box at a profit margin that doesn't hurt your business, doesn't hurt your profitability, you actually have to be collaborative. You have to be willing to forego some buy box share in order to win the optimum price. It's sort of like the economics of it. So our system is looking at the behaviors of our competition. It's looking at the feedback of our competition and understanding at what price they should win the buy box and what price we should win the buy box. And then making sure that we are rotating and sharing that percentage so that you get your fair share and so does your competition, but you're doing it at the highest possible price. So we look for those trends. We look for the decisions that our competition is making. We react to those in real time and then make decisions to not tank prices, stay up top and make sure you're growing your business.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when me and Kaj were, repricing ourselves at some point, and it was, talk about an utter nightmare. I think 90% of our conversations were not what's the next deal, where can we buy more inventory? It was why are we not making any sales today, and trying to
Mm,
figure out what product is not being repriced correctly. And when we did find the solution, it was like a cent. And we were like, oh my gosh, like if we'd only dropped it a cent,
totally.
we would have gotten, 10 to 12 more sales today, but we just didn't see this skew. And
Mm,
so, man, I remember the first time we ended up getting, SellerSnap. It was just a game changer for our business in terms of the time and effort that it took for us to kind of work through a repricing strategy for our products. And then on top of that, seeing, we end up selling a product for, $2 or $3 above the buy box. And then we're always messaging each other like, yo, did you check out that last sale? That was crazy. Like, I can't believe that happened. And then it's just like, oh man, so glad. So many headaches were
yeah.
just almost vanished immediately after getting a repricer, especially if you're manually repricing. So yeah, that just goes to show just how powerful SellerSnap can be in your business.
Yeah, and I love to hear the anecdotes, and I think we hear it quite often when we talk to customers, especially like you said, customers that maybe haven't used a tool like this before or a pricer at all. And I think that's where the other side of all these new releases I spoke about before was Walmart was one of them, but the other side of it is the analytics because how do you find those listings that maybe need that subtle optimization because it's 1 cent off. Your minimum price is just not in the right spot and you're not winning sales. And so we realized that in order for people to um, uh, maximize profits, they have to also make smart decisions. And so our like internally, our mission is to help businesses succeed in e-commerce by building wonderful technology that helps them maximize profits and make smart decisions. So that's part of it. And so when we're trying to achieve that, we really need to give you tools to understand your business, understand how the repricer is performing, but also know where you need to take decisions and make changes so that you can get that extra few sales that day.
What are some of those new data points that you guys have provided, or even if the data point itself isn't new, just maybe a new way to visualize it, that have been helpful to sellers in terms of making smart repricing decisions?
Yeah, so there's a variety of different stuff. It's hard to sort of go into all of it, and I really recommend that anyone that's interested in understanding what's available just comes and gives it a play. It's a 15-day free trial, so if anything I say regarding analytics is interesting, or you think you might be able to extract some information from it, then just give it a go. But I'll do my best to explain it here. So one of the things that's been getting a lot of traction is our competitor dashboard. So we're actually able to give you a bit of a breakdown or a comparison between how you're performing against your number one competitor. So we look for all of the products that you sell and then which competitor of yours we call them crossover or overlap listings. So which competitor of yours has the most listings with the highest percentage of overlap with you? So maybe you compete with a competitor 25% of the time or 75% of the time. Then what are they doing? And so you can sort of drill down a bit into their strategy and understand how they're performing. And this is just based on the data that you're providing us by giving us authorization. So it's just your data, but there's so much you can pull out from that data. So you can see where we compete, where you compete with Amazon, for an example, even, and then what the highest and lowest price that we've observed them taking against you. So in some situations, you can see that they're not going below a price. You can make an active decision to drop your minimum price and win and dominate the buy box because they've hit a floor. So that's just an example. And the rest of it is just how we pivot and aggregate data. Josh, just a minute ago, you said we need to know where we had to change. We've had a drop in a product's performance, where we had to make an optimization on a minimum price. So we give these pivoted data that shows you your brand or product's performance day over day, or week over week, or month over month, or quarter over quarter. So you can really track those trends and understand where we're having increases and decreases, and then know where you need to make decisions to get back involved in your business and make those smart moves or smart decisions to improve performance.
And this is all inside of the DataHub.
This is all inside DataHub. That's correct. So it's a new screen within the application that is specifically catered to data and analytics. So it's really fast analytics. You can pull data from years in a couple of seconds, pivoted and aggregated by different dimensions, understand how brands are performing, how stores are performing, currency conversion. If you're operating in Europe, we've got a lot of different marketplaces, or even in North America with Brazil and Mexico, and aggregate that all into one unified currency so you can really understand your business. And it's really, it's new for us. We're trying to bring a lot more tools to this platform, and we're really interested in hearing feedback from customers about what would be useful for them to grow their business, and so we can turn those ideas, or what I said before, those problems, into robust solutions.
Yeah, we had one of your team members on a call for the wholesale network community, I think 1 or 2 weeks ago, and she did a demo on some of the stuff within DataHub, and I've looked around a little bit, like at the profit analytics and the competition, whatever. But when she really broke it down, I was very impressed with some of the ways that you can visualize the data and also just see things from a different angle that I'd never would have even thought of when it comes to repricing. So for people who are already using SellerSnap, definitely look into that a little bit more. Adrian, I don't know if you were able to get access to the demo account, if maybe we could do a quick screen share.
I wasn't able to pull it up, but we
Okay.
we
Yeah,
have
no
so
worries.
much content on our
Yeah.
websites and our knowledge base article, and if someone's interested in giving it a go, then definitely recommend reaching out to the team who can give you a demo or a rundown, or there's lots of YouTube content I think that you guys have about it as well. So there's good stuff out there.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, and I'll put some of those links in the description as well. But it's actually extremely interesting, and that's just another thing that I love about tools like SellerSnap, because I won't dox any other tools or people right now, but there are other tools where it's like, okay, they build it up, and then they maybe get comfortable, and they no longer have their ear to the ground. They're not listening to sellers. They're coming out with features that like sellers don't actually care about. It's not based on actually being involved in the community, because obviously our little niche of the world, the Amazon seller community, it's always changing. We have a very specific set of problems that are to very specific use cases, and tools like you guys, Smart Scout, like the features that you come out with are actually helpful and are actually based off of conversations like this, where you're interacting with sellers, getting actual feedback, and at the end of the day, just creating features that help us make better decisions or make the same decisions faster.
Yeah. And I mean, especially going into like Q4, I mean, we're going to see price fluctuations even more aggressive than ever before, especially as competition in Q4 increases. So, grabbing a repricer if you don't have one would definitely be almost a must in Q4, because you could lose a lot of profit if you aren't repriced either very quickly, or you don't have certain ranges where you want your price to be in. So you can kind of quickly work through that product as well as it starts to come in. So you can kind of reorder and get the best out of Q4.
What are some, oh, Josh, you were about to say something. Sorry.
I was going to say, when someone goes to like reprice, how often, and again, this is more of maybe a question for me, how often is a repricer kind of repricing?
Yeah,
Like what's the industry industry standard for that?
yeah,
That's a great
it's
question.
really good question. Industry standard, I probably can't comment on. I don't know what
Okay.
different tools are doing. I don't exactly know what different tools are doing, and I can't even necessarily give you an exact timeline, like how regularly a specific listing is updating,
Gotcha.
because there's a lot of different considerations that go into play. So basically speaking, for many years, for most of the existence of Amazon and price optimization, you could update a listing once every 2 minutes. It was as simple as that.
Hmm.
And then about a year ago or 2 years ago, Amazon made a change to their API, the way that we interface and connect with their tool with like Seller Central programmatically, like how our technology connects to Seller Central, and made a big change that let us update, in real time, almost instantly. And so there was a big change in how we had to make decisions so that we were choosing the right listings at the right time. So now repricing isn't just what is the right price, it's which listing should I update and when? Right? If you have two products that need an update, which one of them should be updated first? Which one has higher velocity? Which one has more potential to make more profit? If I have to choose two. So let's say two listings need a price update, but one of them's back ordered and one of them's active with a lot of inventory. Which one should I choose? So we can reprice almost instantly. I think it's 5 updates a second. So you can technically update 5 listings every second. Transactions per second. Yeah. So 5 TPS. But if you're talking about people that have, we have customers with 150,000 SKU line items, then there's not much time.
Can I ask a clarifying question on that? It's not just you can update every listing 5 times per second. It's the API, which is how SellerSnap communicates with Seller Central, allows for 5 inputs per second.
Yeah, 5 specific patch operations, so updates to a listing. In that update, we can update lots of stuff. We can update the business pricing. We can update the quantity discounts. We can update the price. You could theoretically update the title or the pictures, all of that type of stuff. So we can do 5 updates per developer per second. And I'm pretty sure that's what it is, 5 transactions per second.
And it's not just per listing, but it's total between
the relationship between us as a developer and you as a seller. So we both, me and you, Kaj, or SellerSnap and you, Kaj, we have 5 per second, and me and you, Josh, have 5 per second. It's not like between us we have the same 5, So each person gets 5.
And I was asking that clarification because that's where it comes in. Like and I'll let you finish your example because you're going to be able to explain it better than me. But like if someone has 10,000 SKUs, it's like, okay, now it's not just about repricing in total, but it's figuring out which ones to reprice because the amount of inputs or whatever the correct technical term is that you can make is limited. Okay, so I didn't know
exactly
that.
Right.
I'm very fascinated.
In the old world, like 2 years ago before this change, you could update as many listings as you wanted every 2 minutes. Right? So, but that's submitting a file with as many listings as you wanted. That doesn't mean they're going to be processed every 2 minutes. They might be, the processing might take 10 minutes or 15 minutes. Sometimes we hear from customers, we used to hear, why isn't this price here? So, well, we submitted the price at this time, but it just hasn't been processed because you have so many products, right? So now it's much more synchronous. We make a price change, we get an immediate response. There can still be a delay before the catalog updates, right? So there's your listings and then there is Amazon's catalog. And Amazon is also prioritizing its catalog because it can't do every update all the time. So there's a lot of moving parts going on. But basically speaking, you can update a listing once every 5 every second. That being said, if you're winning the buy box, you decide not to make a price change. If you are trying to raise price, you might be learning, you might be making price changes much more regularly. So the timing, the decisions, the actual prices themselves, there's a lot of factors that go into making a price change.
Yeah. Very interesting.
And I think there's also like 2 categories of products that I kind of want to touch on with something like repricing. I mean, Kaj have kind of worked through both. One's the pretty easy. That's like the high velocity listing with, a few sellers on it. You're looking just to grab buy box when you can, as often as you can. And so sometimes that listing might be bouncing around a little bit. And sometimes it might be pretty kind of like more of like a plateau and it stays at a certain price because everybody's rotating, everybody's happy. And then, but a lot of times people, especially smaller sellers, will run into listings where there isn't many people on the listing, or you become the only one on the listing, but your repricing rules are a little bit off. So again, you have to make sure that you go into these listings and make sure that the pricings are right. Because I remember we were selling a Nike sweatshirt one time, and we had it. The max was $130. Well, no one's going to buy anything at $130. And what's going to happen is if you're on a certain setting, that repricer is going to be like, oh man, I can get another, $40 of profit for this product. Awesome. Let me shoot that price way up, but then doesn't get any sales. So then it starts to kind of chop down to see where it can get a sale. And that's where it can be like pretty powerful, because then you can almost find the sweet spot. Okay, people are going to buy at 120. They're not going to buy at 140. Okay, let me just kind of change my rules here a little bit. And that's where kind of the AI pricer can potentially find a better max price than, just putting an arbitrary price in there as well, which is kind
Totally.
of cool.
That's your bread and butter, supply and
Well
demand.
stated.
You
Yeah.
might sell one sweater at 140,
Yeah.
but you're stuck with a lot of inventory and you're paying long-term storage fees pretty quickly if you can't move 10 more in that first 90 days at 130. So yeah, it's important to as a seller using a solution to know a bit about your inventory and know a bit about where you think prices should be at, so that you can set reasonable mins and maxes, and then have a really good solution out there that can help you make the decisions throughout the day to optimize that price.
Super interesting. Okay, can we maybe just jam a little bit on some Q4 repricing strategies if you've got any suggestions or specific rules that you like to look at? Obviously, like you said earlier, one of the beautiful things about SellerSnap is you can just, all right, set a min, set a max, let the AI go to town. But is there any like additional tweaks or specific scenarios that you think sellers should look out for to implement as well within their rules?
Yeah, good question. And it's a hard one because I think so many different people have different business models and strategies. I'd love to hear from you guys quickly. Like, what do you think the most important thing sellers need to be focusing on? Maybe pricing related, not pricing related, going into Q4, and then I can spitball a bit on how I think SellerSnap can help overcome some of those challenges.
I mean, my personal favorite's always going to be the yo-yo. So the AI itself obviously will raise price a little bit, but I like setting a realistic max price, kind of going along with Josh was just sharing about that, certain use case with the sweater. But I love setting a realistic max price and then adding that as a rule on top of the AI. Say, hey, every 180 minutes, every 200 minutes, whatever it is, just jump up to my max. And then we get sales at that higher max, as well as it kind of can reset a price war if it's happening, depending on the behavior of the other sellers, repricers, of our competition's repricers. But when it comes to Q4, I mean, just jack that max price up. I mean, especially once you hit a couple weeks before Christmas, even Black Friday, it's like people just go on the Amazon app, close their eyes, and just click add to cart and buy. So just raise the price up. People will pay. Profit will increase, and that's where we can kind of start moving some of these tariffs onto the customer.
Totally. Totally. Yeah. I think that I go in a lot of these kind of chats and podcasts, and a lot of Q4 preparation talk. And I think that, where SellerSnap can really help is not just in the price optimization, but you really got to understand where your opportunities are. And that's where this sort of analytics comes in. Like I want to send all my inventory off to FBA fulfillment centers before cutoff, for Q4 cutoff. I don't know what I actually don't know in the back of my head what the date is. Has it come or gone yet already?
20th and 30th.
Close.
It's
20th,
like
it's coming really close. So
Yeah.
if I'm a business right now, I've got a bit of inventory in a warehouse or an inbound, I know I've got limits on what I can send to Amazon. Like, what am I doing right now? I'm going into my SellerSnap account. I'm trying to understand which brands and products are performing best, who has the best margin, what's got the highest velocity, what's got the lowest competition. Trying to understand what my competition's doing. I'm trying to bring forward those important products. And where possible, I'm trying to reinvest in those products. I'm getting them into those fulfillment centers. So when it's Black Friday, when it's pre-Christmas, when people are doing their last minute shopping, or they're a bit late to their last minute shopping and they're going, I know that those products are going to move through the door and I'm going to get those extra few sales. So I'm using analytics to make smart decisions, and then I'm putting it into fulfillment centers where a tool can make sure that, just like I said, I'm setting up yo-yos, I'm coming up with creative strategies to maximize my price and make sure that when someone buys the product, I'm getting that margin so that I can go reinvest and make sure I have a successful Q1. Like, that's it. It's rinse and repeat.
Yeah. Well
And
said.
I think like even then, like, and there are some situations where you're like, I don't even know why I'm getting the buy box at this specific price. And it's most likely because you're at a warehouse that probably has more demand for that product. And that was the warehouse that you ended up just shipping your product to randomly, that Amazon wanted you to ship it to. And so that repricer can find, that spot that no one else can compete with because you're just dominating that zone. And that's where I think a lot of people could potentially lose out on profit too, because they're like, oh, I got, I got 4 other competitors. I got to be super competitive with, this buy box. And 90% of the time, that's 100% right. Like, you're going to have to be competitive there. But then you're going to get these weird fluctuations that you'll see randomly where that repricer is just catching the buy box way higher than everybody else. And that's depends on if they're back ordered for, they could be back ordered for only 4 days. But with that repricer catching that 4 days, man, that's just extra money in your pocket. And that's, what the repricer is designed for. And
Totally.
and especially going into Q4, I think it's an absolute must.
100%. And that's the beauty of having a repricer that's actually smart, because it's
Yeah.
taking all of those things into
Exactly.
consideration versus just being like, oh, we're at the same price, let me undercut by a cent. And then it's like, well, who's in stock, who's back ordered, where are you located, is the buy, like all of those things getting factored in, and then you're like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm actually winning price at a profitable place, not just tanking it for no reason.
Yeah, I even remember, Kaj, we had one SKU where we had dominated it for so long. I think Amazon just liked us being in stock, and
We
we
were the
always
favorite.
knew we could get $2 above
Oh,
any
yeah.
sort of competition that came on the listing.
Mhm.
And that was like we were in heaven there because we knew we had an extra $2 of margin compared to everybody else.
Yep.
So
You were
Yeah,
the favorite child.
yeah,
I think that's one of the fallacies that people don't understand in the space, that your price of the buy box is not the price of the buy box. You might be able to win the buy box at a much higher price or a much lower price than your competition based on things like where your inventory is or how your reviews are, if your FBM, how your return rate and your on-time delivery, all this type of stuff. So it's based on all those inputs. It's possible that your buy box price is a bit of margin above your competition, and you need to find a tool that can actually discover that and isn't just aiming for whatever the current buy box price is.
yeah, absolutely. Adrian, I do actually have a question. I don't know if you guys have kind of done any sort of analytics on when somebody does get a repricer like SellerSnap, how long does it take them to go and start to kind of like reprice everything? Like, is it like pretty like simple, click here, there? Like, if you could maybe explain that just a little bit?
Yeah. So it's like, what does that setup process look like?
Yeah, like how, like, because if I'm a new seller, I'm thinking like, man, is it going to take me 3 hours to kind of reprice my 40 SKUs that I might have across Amazon? Like, how long is this going to take? Because time is money.
Yeah, for sure. So, it can be super, super simple and pretty easy to set up. And it can be as complex as you would like, depending on how involved you want to be. And I think for newer sellers or people migrating that just want to explore, we sort of call it like a 3-step checklist. There's create an account, set your mins and maxes, and start repricing. It's almost 3 clicks. There's a bit of work in there just to make sure that you have that floor price. SellerSnap doesn't make you calculate a max price anymore. We're automatically calculating that for you. So if you're migrating from a system and you have those minimum prices already, you can import them into our system and off you go. It's 3 clicks and you're repricing. And then if you're a first time user of a repricing software, we have a couple of systems in place to help you calculate those prices to make sure that you're maintaining a profit margin. But once again, if you've got your costs saved in a file somewhere, you can easily set in our system, 10% margin or 20% margin, and then import those costs, one import, and you're ready to go. You click start and the system just goes. In actuality, I think people like to be supported through this process. So even though it's as simple as, a few clicks, most of our customers that or people that come to our system that see success because they get on a call with one of our team members and let us hold their hand through this process. When you're going to let an algorithm make decisions on your behalf, you kind of want to know that you're in good hands. And so I think a big part of our value proposition is that we offer that support and those solutions to and teams that are repricing experts to help you get set up and make sure that you see success during a 15-day free trial. I don't know
Yeah, I
if that
love
answers
that.
your question.
Yeah, no, that does. Absolutely. Kaj, you have any more
Awesome.
questions?
Um, No, I don't think so. But yeah, guys, if you want to get a free trial of SellerSnap, there is a link in the description, or you can use code Robinson. And that will get you an additional 10% off your first 3 months after the free 15-day trial. And yeah, if you want to, reach out to Adrian, I'm sure we'll put your LinkedIn profile in the description too. But yeah, guys, if you want to check out SellerSnap, I can say with pretty much complete confidence that it will make you more money this Q4. I don't know if I'm allowed to give that guarantee, Adrian, but I
Your
know
guarantee, not
from
mine.
okay, there you go. But I know from personal experience that when we switched to SellerSnap, we made more money and it paid for itself. So I will give it that stamp of approval. I don't know if they have that guaranteed in the contract. Obviously, things can happen, but it's that good.
Yeah,
We
I mean, I
don't.
remember our first couple weeks turning it on. We were absolutely blown away. We're like, why didn't we do this sooner? We were just scratching our heads trying to figure out,
Biggest
like,
regret, not getting it sooner.
why didn't we do this? But guys, links will be in the description. Thank you guys for listening. Make sure to comment if you have any topics you want us to discuss in the future. If you're on YouTube, like and subscribe. And if you're on Spotify, follow the podcast so you can stay updated on all of our new content. And we will see you on the next one.